tank driving experience. That's right, you can drive an actual tank through mud and crush cars. Sounds awesome, right? Visit tankamerica.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars, protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555, Jacksonville. The sports world keeps spinning, and the local conversation continues. Now, Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Tuesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM. We are glad you are up with us. Our late night show with you till midnight every Tuesday with Dylan Denmark, the Hacker Ryan Green with you. What a day, what a day in the world of sports, primarily the world of professional golf. A lot of thoughts on what happened today between the LIV Tour and the PGA. We will get to those in a moment. Joe Cowart of XL Primetime. He also, as you probably know, if you listen to Joe for many years, works for PGA Tour Entertainment. He'll join us here in about 15 minutes or so, and we'll get his thoughts, his reaction on a monumental day in the world of golf. Our AFC North preview kicks off tonight. We will make stops in Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland, but tonight it's all about Cincinnati. Jay Morrison of The Athletic covering the Cincinnati Bengals. He will stop by to preview Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Cincinnati. That all coming up in hour number one. Again, we are certainly glad you have decided to stay up late with us. Let's not waste time any longer. Let's dive right in, because every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal? What is the big deal?
No big deal. It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
All right, so LIV Golf and the PGA Tour, who were at each other's throats, right? So we thought. Litigation going on all over the place. Lo and behold, today just decide to, whether you want to call it a merger, it's really not necessarily a merger, but it's an agreement. It certainly is that they're going to enhance the game of golf together. Let me tell you something right off the bat. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to talk out of you-know-what. Do I know all the intricacies and nuances of what actually is going on between LIV Golf and the PGA Tour? No, I don't. That's why I have people on that do. And Joe Cowart is that guy, and he's going to join us in less than 15 minutes. But here is what I do know. There are a lot of people that look very, very, very bad in this situation. And number one, first and foremost, is PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan. I don't know Jay Monahan. I know we've had him on the station when we get ready for the Players. Everything I've been told, he's a great guy. I haven't, really thought much, honestly, about Jay Monahan. He runs the tour, and to my knowledge, the tour's doing great. So to me, Jay Monahan's doing a great job. And again, I'm not going to bury the guy here. He's certainly getting enough of that. But the television interview he did with Jim Nantz on CBS when this whole LIV Golf thing was really starting to explode about a year ago, a little less, talking directly to golfers about, have you ever had to apologize for being on the PGA Tour, bringing up families of 9/11, talking about how he had two families close to him that lost somebody in 9/11. I mean, it's all on that TV interview that he did with Jim Nantz. It was powerful stuff. Still is powerful stuff when you watch it. And the reverse course, the backpedaling, the 180 that has been done on the surface by the PGA Tour here, and now joining forces with somebody that they were talking about 9/11, a few months back. That's a terrible look, man. That's a terrible look. And you can sugarcoat it any way you want, right? You can put out statements and you can put a positive face on it when TV cameras are on, and You can say it's a great day for the game and this, that, and the other. Well, what happened? Why did you feel a certain way and speak so strongly about it? And invoking memories of 9/11 when it came to, this new Saudi Arabia league and bringing up all of that on national television to now just do a complete 180. Well, on the surface, it appears to be money, right? I mean, I'm not breaking any news there. It's just not a good look. And he's imploring the PGA Tour players to be loyal, right? Be loyal. Don't go to Live Golf. I know they're offering you $100 million, $200 million, $300 million, ridiculous figures, but they're the enemy, right? They're being funded by these awful folks in Saudi Arabia. The connotation with that, we all know what the connotation with that was, what was being put out there. Don't be like that. Rory McIlroy, you're our guy. Get out in front of this thing. Justin Thomas, you're our guy. Talk up the PGA Tour. It's us against them. And lo and behold, on a Tuesday morning at 10:30 Eastern time, to find out that they're joining forces. Wait a minute. I mean, what? What happened? How did this happen that your best guys, Scotty Scheffler reportedly, other top players, didn't know? Had no idea. Jeff Ogilvy said something interesting when he was being interviewed. He was one of the golfers that actually spoke after the players-only meeting today that Jay Monahan had, and I think he might be right. Ogilvy basically said, I appreciate Ogilvy for his candor, right? Basically said that in his belief, he thinks somebody found out about this, forcing the PGA Tour to make the announcement before they should have made it, or before they were ready to make it. That's why it was so sudden. Normally, with something this earth-shattering in the world of golf or whatever it is, when you're essentially going back on everything you've stood for the last year plus, you might want to send out some feelers, right? You might want to release a little bit of it, and then another piece, and not just put a sledgehammer on your fan base, on your golfers, and on the sport at 10:30 Eastern on a Tuesday morning. But Ogilvy, again, brought up the fact that in his belief, somebody found out about it. It was going to be reported. So the PGA Tour had to get out in front of that and release this cold turkey. Bam. Here you go. Everything we've said bad about the Live Golf guys, the organization, the fact that we said those guys could never come back on the tour, we're suspending them indefinitely. Don't go to Live Golf. Stay loyal to the PGA. It's us versus them. I mean, you can go back to all the sound. You can't hide from the sound bites, right? You can put on any spin you want, any face you want for the cameras, but ultimately, at the end of the day, people have YouTube, people have Twitter. Anything you say in a public forum can be found pretty easily at this point with technology. So you went back on everything you've said for basically the last year plus, and today, bam, here we go. Live Golf and the PGA. I mean, how good do the Live Golf guys look right now? Brooks Koepka, Phil Mickelson. Not only did they get paid, Dustin Johnson, Bryson DeChambeau, Cameron Smith, all those guys got paid to go to Live Golf. Now you get that money on top of the fact that it looks like you're going to be now allowed back to the PGA Tour. Oh, well, they're going to have to pay a fine. Great. Yeah. I mean, what do you think they paid Koepka to go to Live Golf? How many millions and millions and millions of dollars did Brooks Koepka get to leave the PGA Tour to go to Live Golf?
North of $300 million.
Yeah. What's the fine going to be? What's the PGA Tour going to fine Brooks Koepka for coming back? Let's say it's $1 million. All right? Okay, great. This other $299 million works just fine with me. Meanwhile, Rory McIlroy reportedly was offered hundreds of millions of dollars. Tiger Woods reportedly offered hundreds of millions of dollars. Nope, stay loyal. Be with us. It's us versus them. No, apparently not. Apparently not. I thought it was interesting, Denmark. I'm not sure if you'll appreciate this analogy, but there was a thing going around social media today. quoting the great former wrestler, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. And one of his sayings, if you're a fan of wrestling in the 80s and 90s, you know what it is. Everybody's got a price. And there you go. And again, what this means for the game moving forward, it might be a good thing. I'm not saying it's not a good thing. It might be. We're going to have Joe Coward on to discuss it, to talk about it. It might be a great thing. You know, once feelings get mended and things along those lines get sorted out, you know, maybe 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, we'll be laughing about this, saying, hey, remember that? You know, that day was the monumental day where golf changed for the positive forever. Maybe that does happen. But for the here and now, the hypocrisy that has been shown by some in high-level positions is stunning. It's absolutely stunning. You can't hide from comments. Again, release any statement you want. Smile ear to ear in front of any TV camera and talk about how great today is. It's hard to justify that when you were saying the exact opposite for over a year. What happened? Well, I think at the end of the day, it probably came down to a lot of money. Do you fault the PGA Tour and the folks, Liv and everybody that did this? Do you fault them if it came down to a lot of money? I don't know. But that, to me, looks like where we are. Joe Coward, XL Primetime, PGA Tour Entertainment. He's certainly our golf guy. He's obviously one of my best friends here at the station. But for guest purposes, he's our golf guy here on Hacker After Dark. So we'll get his thoughts on a monumental day. A day where if I'm a PGA Tour player, particularly one of the higher-ups, and I was told, don't join Live Golf, be loyal, stick with us, it's us versus them, I am not happy. Not happy at all, regardless of any statement you want to say or any smile you want to put on television. Not happy. We'll obviously get into the National Football League. We got some college football talk. Our AFC North preview begins tonight up in Cincinnati with Jay Morrison of The Athletic. Well, let's kick it off guest-wise with Joe C. of XL Primetime. How big a day is this in the grand scheme of things for the world of golf? The Live Tour and PGA Tour. In harmony? All is right with the world? An agreement? Shocking stuff. We'll talk to Joe C. about it next. A Tuesday night edition of Hacker After Dark right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
This is Kyle Busch.
The Candyman comes. Kyle Busch gets it done at Charlotte. He is now won everywhere.
And you're listening to 1010XL Jack Sports Radio.
Hey Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
The Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute is now offering online scheduling for new patient appointments for all of their physicians. Simply schedule your appointment on your cell phone, tablet, or desktop. JOI is the first orthopedic practice in North Florida to offer this feature to patients. To schedule your appointment online, visit joi.net and click on the button at the top of the page. If you'll be using insurance, be sure and have your information handy. JOI, where the pros go.
Tired of the same old places for happy hour? Downtown's best is at Bellwether. It's Tuesday through Saturday from 4 to 7, with the exception on Friday when happy hour starts at 11 because why not? For all you late-nighters, Bellwether offers nightcap specials on Friday and Saturday from 9 to 11. Want a snack with your cocktail? Bellwether has a unique bar food spread. And guess what? All metered parking is free after 6 and weekends. That's Bellwether Downtown.
Hey folks, Mike Dempsey here, and I want to know, are your drafty windows letting all that cool air right back outside? Will they protect your home from Florida's unpredictable weather? If not, then it's time for the peace of mind that comes only with Pella Windows and Doors. Pella offers durable wood, fiberglass, and vinyl products in various styles and designs to best complement your home. So visit the Pella of Jacksonville showroom on Phillips Highway next to Tesla, or find them at PellaJacks.com. That's Pella Windows and Doors at PellaJacks.com.
He doesn't live in the water.
What's going on here? Get him in the boat. Get him in the boat.
But he practically lives on it.
Nice. Woo!
Captain Kevin in the Ring Power Fishing Forecast Show. Brought to you by Houston's Meats.
Thursday nights at 6
on 1010XL AM.
I'm Dr. Mitchell Yass, the most unknown world-renowned expert on pain elimination. That's right, elimination. If you've tried medications, injections, physical therapy, chiropractic, even surgery, and still experience pain, then say yes to Yass. I have successfully used the Yass method for over 30 years to help thousands reclaim their lives. To learn more, call me at 904-906-YASS. Let's end your pain and say yes to Yass.
Hi, I'm Donovan Darris, former 10-year strong safety with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tackling is one of the most important techniques that you need in football, but can also be one of the most dangerous. That's why I'm hosting my 2023 Youth Tackling Technique camps all throughout Jacksonville. And so I'm asking, if you have a child aged 7 to 13, sign them up to learn how to tackle the right way and at a high level. And also, so we don't turn any kids away, sign up as a sponsor to donate $49 for the price of a child to come and participate. You can do all this at DariusNextLevelTraining.com.
Are you looking for increased privacy and protection for your family and pets? Look no further than Superior Fence and Rail. Superior Fence and Rail is Jacksonville's top-rated fence company, delivering the highest quality fence products. They'll treat your property as if it's their own. So get off the fence and get your privacy back. Call Superior Fence and Rail today for your on-site estimates.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Hey guys, I'm Daniel Heilman from the brand new Fourscore Golf Tavern. We do elevated food, drinks, and golf simulator fun. If you're looking for a delicious meal or maybe a spot for a client, we have lunch specials every day. Need to entertain a few people from out of town? Easy. Just reserve one of our 4 simulator bays. Lunch service starts at 11 a.m. daily. Located in San Marcos Square, we'll see you at lunch at Fourscore Golf Tavern.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. We're your local family jeweler for 46 years in Jacksonville with a huge selection of diamonds, gemstones, and pre-owned Rolex watches. And Monahan Jewelers is your store for expert jewelry repair turned around in 1 or 2 days. Most jewelry stores take 2 weeks or more, and many stores send your jewelry somewhere else for repair. At Monahan Jewelers, our jewelry repair is done in-house by expert craftsmen, and Monahans can turn around most repairs in a day or two. So bring your jewelry repair to Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Denny Thompson here. Tyson Sound & Security is hiring salespeople right now. If you want to sell new tech security cameras or home automation, Tyson Sound & Security is looking for you. Tyson Sound & Security is hiring for sales positions, and they will train you to be successful. Apply online at TysonSoundandSecurity.com or call 762-1000. That's 762-1000. Hiring for sales positions right now. Apply online at TysonSoundandSecurity.com or call 762-1000. Equal opportunity employer.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. It is a Tuesday evening, and we are glad you are with us. Boy, what a story developing in the world of golf today as Live Golf and the PGA Tour, I guess merge would be the right word. We're going to get the latest from Joe Coward, but what a absolutely shocking development that came out earlier today. Let's go to Joe C. You hear him every day on XL Primetime. He also does great work down there for PGA Tour Entertainment. Joe, you're as close to the golf game as anybody I know, brother. Did you have any idea what you were going to run into earlier today?
No, not really. I would say that I had a clue. I had a feel, but it was all guessing on my part. And just to set it up for you, whenever you saw a couple of things via social media or around a tournament, you started to wonder if two sides were talking. I expected that they would be at some point. This can't go on forever. But then you saw the visual coming out of Oak Hill, where you saw Phil Mickelson, Colin Morikawa, Jay Monahan, Rory McIlroy, I can't remember, Carlos Ortiz. Anyway, a couple of live guys, a couple of tour stars, the commissioner. And I'm thinking, all right, they all exit at the same time. That's not by accident. And then when Brooks Koepka won the PGA, I felt like the PGA of America was going to invite U.S. players onto the Ryder Cup team that played on LIV. I think you and I even had that conversation coming out of the PGA Championship. But I did not expect the words merge, LIV, and PGA Tour in the same sentence. And I still don't know for a fact, Hack, if that is indeed what has happened. But there is no mistaking, based on Jay Monahan's statements earlier today, that the Public Investment Fund, the Saudi-backed PIF, is now a major, the largest, and maybe the only outside investor in the PGA Tour. That is massive.
All right, so how did we get here? I mean, how did we go from, Coke versus Pepsi, right? Nike versus Reebok, to all of a sudden waking up today and what we knew as the two golf entities that were at each other's throats to now all of a sudden being under the same umbrella this quickly?
Yeah, it's strange bedfellows. It's strictly business. You can come up with some headlines to describe it. But for Jay Monahan's part in this, and he's the tour commissioner, he got gutted. And he got upstaged in a lot of ways with some of the stuff that LIV Golf was doing. And only way he could react was to react. In other words, he couldn't just say, hey, I'm ignoring you. He had to react. And so they added more purse money. They created designated events on the PGA Tour. They stood up and said, that's not who we are. We're the PGA Tour. And ask yourself this question: has a PGA Tour player ever had to apologize for playing on tour? Well, he said some pretty big things. And so now you're going to a situation where the people that you condemned for going over there, you said the money that they're taking is immoral, and now you're going to welcome them back. That's going to be a tough sell. And I don't know exactly how it's all going to unfold. I'd like to believe that the PGA Tour has a plan and that it's going to be for the greater good of the game. I believe that. But the idea of going and merging or forging a partnership with a group that you detested is tough to take. It's tough to swallow.
Couple of more for Joe Cowart. You get him every day here on XL Primetime on 1010XL. Jay Monahan is getting, quite frankly, annihilated in some circles on social media by some pretty high-profile folks in the sports media world. If you go back and you watch that interview he did with Jim Nantz, I guess what was that, almost a year ago now, maybe a little less than a year ago, talking about LIV, and you brought up the statement, have you ever had to apologize for being on the PGA Tour? And they even brought up, the 9/11 families who had issues with this LIV Golf-backed Saudi Arabia tour. And now it looks like a complete 180. Boy, Joe, that interview looks awful for Jay Monahan, does it not?
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about it. And the way I've tried to phrase it or characterize it or whatever is that, there's no getting away from those words. Those are out in the social ether. You can't take them back. So I totally get anyone's reaction. Social media usually has a strong reaction. Cancel culture comes into play, all of that stuff. But there still is no mistaking that you said what you said, and now you're telling me that the future is brighter and better than ever because you've joined forces. And that is the thing I think is going to be the toughest thing for people with political feelings to look at the tour and go, hey, is this the way to go? Now, the other part of it, And I don't want to get, the beautiful thing I like about what you and I do, dude, is that I've always considered it the toy department. We don't have to lead off with the worst news of the day. We get to have fun. We get to talk sports. That's what the game of golf is all about, is we're out there having fun. And the political world has entered the sports world. And it never used to be that way, but we know it is for sure now. And there are many corporations that have Saudi dealings, China dealings. I mean, the list is endless. And that part you could swallow. But it's the fact that he said some strong things, and now he's saying that this is going to be bigger and better than ever with the people he said strong things about. And that's the part that's not going to sit well with a lot of people. And the other part of it is that the players were not made aware until everything became public. And a meeting this afternoon, we'll find out what more is going to come out for the public to consume. But I'm sure the players aren't happy. And the fact that they stood up for the tour when others left and took the big bucks, that's good. There's going to be a lot of patching up and probably a lot of contentious conversations between player and tour.
As we begin to wrap up, again, I know you're very busy today with this news. I mean, the thing that's crazy to me, Joe, is, the PGA Tour is telling these guys, basically imploring these guys, being the members, the players, don't go to LIV, right? Stay loyal to the PGA Tour. And then for players to stay loyal and then to wake up one morning or to be out on a driving range getting ready for a tournament on Thursday and to find out on Twitter, I mean, I think Colin Morikawa's like, wow, really interesting way to wake up and find out this news on Twitter. I'm paraphrasing. That's basically what he tweeted out. Seemed like he didn't know. According to Scott Van Pelt, who I saw earlier, who's very tight end, as you know, the highest names on the PGA Tour, the best players out there, did not know until the announcement was made. So, I mean, how can the PGA Tour go to Rory McIlroy or Scotty Scheffler or Jordan Spieth or any of these guys and explain themselves?
Yeah, that's going to be the hardest part. And I've always maintained that the PGA Tour is a bunch of independent contractors, the Rorys, the Schefflers, the Rahms of the world. They all operate independently. They set their own schedule. They qualify, compete, and participate on the tour, but they are independent contractors. Well, the other half of that is there is also a players' policy board, and the players are part of key decision-making when it comes to the tour. I am curious, based on what you said, what Scott Van Pelt had put out there, is that they were not made aware. If you are going to make, and let's be honest here, Hack, you're going to make this type of a major decision, you're going to try and keep it as close to the vest for as long as you possibly can. You're not going to let it out. And that perhaps that's what they did. In the end, I feel like Jay Monahan found himself in a serious and desperate situation to try and close the gap on this thing and get it behind him. And they may have made decisions feeling like they were going to catapult the cash purses in the game. They were going to bring everybody back together competing on the same stage, and everything else that they had to do that was going to be worth it. The classic, let the end justify the means. And maybe that's the reasoning he's going to put behind it, and we'll see what the players do. The ones that didn't leave, yeah, they're not going to be happy about it, but that money that's going to come rolling into the tour, above and beyond what they already have been told they're going to get, I'm sure is going to make a lot of them happy. That's for sure.
Joe Coward of XL Primetime. Joe, final question. You kind of mentioned it there. Assuming the fences get mended and the feelings get healed and all that, we keep hearing from all the powers that be around the world of golf that this is a good thing for the game, to grow the game. Do you believe that?
Well, I wish I could. I do believe it because I believe in the tour. And as well as I do, I have to put this out as my little PSA. I'm an independent contractor, but I work for the PGA Tour. I've worked for them for 20 years. I love what they represent. I love the game. I love the idea that you roll into a parking lot, you got 2 days to make a cut. If you don't make a cut, you don't make a check. And I've loved it forever. And the Saudi-backed people came in, said, we want to take on your sport. We want to try and become more relevant in your sport. And we're going to buy a chunk of your sport by buying your players. And they did it by taking the players champion in Cam and Brooks and DJ and all the others. And And the Saudi, let me just tell you real quick, Hack. 2 weeks ago, the Saudis said with their Live Tour, they said, hey, just in case we go to a playoff and CW Network shuts off our broadcast, because that's what they did 2 weeks before that. They didn't even show a playoff where Dustin Johnson won because they didn't care because the ratings were so crappy. They put out a YouTube opportunity where you pay $3 so you can see the full broadcast. And if they go to playoff, you're going to be able to watch it. They had a total of 27 people sign up. That's it.
Wow. Yeah.
27. And so the Live people were just purging cash, and they had spent so much. And I got to believe that some of those tabs still aren't paid for DJ and Phil and everybody else. So there's still more to come out. But the tour always paid the freight for Latino American Tour, Canadian Tour, Japan Tour, Australian, all of them to grow the game. And they'll continue to do that. So that part of it, I believe, is still good, even though this latest news, the coming together, there's still a lot of questions that have to be answered.
Well, you piqued my interest there, so really quick. I mean, why throw the Live Tour a lifeline if they were hemorrhaging money like that?
Because I think they wanted this whole bad boy to go away. I think when Brooks Koepka hoisted the Wanamaker Trophy, when the idea that the PGA of America, who put on the PGA Championship, might invite Live players to play in the Ryder Cup, when all four majors would still have a path for those players to come in and compete, the tour is standing by going, you know what? Damn it. We can't have this. We need all of our players competing every week. And I'm pretty sure that probably pushed the envelope a little bit.
Certainly a monumental day in the game of golf, no question about that. Joe Coward of XL Primetime and, of course, PGA Tour Entertainment. Joe, I know it's a busy day, man. Thank you for taking time out. We'll do it again soon.
All right, dude. I'll talk to you.
There you go, Joe C. of XL Primetime here with us on Hacker After Dark. And, yeah, it's certainly a day that'll be remembered for quite some time. We'll see what happens moving forward. But clearly there are a lot of people that were very bothered by what happened today. And there are some people that do believe the game is going to be better off for it. I guess that's probably where I fall. I've heard from too many people that are excited about what this could be. Trepidation I have is the hypocrisy that we have seen by certain entities, individuals, etc., saying one thing so passionately and then completely doing a 180 on said topic when it appears that dollar signs were in the mix. So that's where we are, and more on Live Golf / the PGA Tour, how it's going to all work. Obviously, there's still a lot to be figured out, but we'll get to that as developments warrant. Now, we got a lot of college football to get into tonight. We got a lot of NFL to get into tonight, and it's a stadium. A new stadium, a renovated stadium, renderings of a stadium that are set to be released tomorrow at 10 a.m. What the stadium downtown for the Jaguars could potentially look like. Boy, there's a lot to get into with that. That'll be more tomorrow night's show. But I'm very curious as to what we're going to see tomorrow at 10 a.m. Obviously, it's going to include the idea of some tax dollars being used. It's going to be expensive. There's no question about that. There's a lot of reports out that are throwing different dollar figures around. Hopefully, we'll get more information on that tomorrow as well. But it comes down to one simple thought. I believe Prosser said this a month or so ago. I think it was Jeff. And I agree with him. Totally agree with him. At the end of the day, do you want to be an NFL city or not? And if you want to be an NFL city, there are certain things that needs to happen. That stadium's 30 years old. That stadium is the last one to either not get a new stadium or not be $300 million worth of renovations. Buffalo just broke ground on a new stadium this week. Tennessee Stadium in Nashville was built 5 years after TIAA Bank Field, and the Titans are getting a brand new stadium. If you go to other NFL markets, I mean, have you been to Atlanta? Have you seen that thing? Have you been to Las Vegas? Have you seen that thing? LA, Dallas? I mean, have you been to some of these places and you see what they have? and you compare it to what we have here in Jacksonville, I mean, come on. I love that stadium. I love TIAA Bank Field. I grew up down there. My first Jaguar game, I was 11 years old. The Houston Oilers, September 3rd, 1995. 11 years old. I'm 39 right now. I literally grew up in that stadium. But I'm not blind to the fact that this is probably long overdue. So I am very excited to see what could happen. And then we'll start talking about the finances of it and see how it needs to happen. What needs to happen to allow a brand new stadium or a mostly renovated stadium to be here in Jacksonville, Florida. So again, that gets released tomorrow at 10 a.m. That'll be a big portion of tomorrow night's Hacker After Dark. Let's start our AFC North preview. Later in the week, we will go to Baltimore. We will go to Pittsburgh. We will go to Cleveland. Tonight, we begin with the defending AFC North champion. We've already done the AFC East. We've already done the NFC East. Tonight, it's all about the AFC North. Cincinnati, Jay Morrison of The Athletic. Let's talk Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and an outlook for the Cincinnati Bengals heading into 2023 as Hacker After Dark rolls on our late show on a Tuesday night here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Proud to serve sports radio to those who proudly protect our country. 1010XL, Jacksonville Sports Radio.
Men, are you suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE? The medical providers at Prime Men's Medical Center offer breakthrough treatments that eliminate problems in the bedroom without pain or surgery. 98% of men see instant results on their first office visit. Listen to a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Simovitz. Prime Men's Medical Center offers breakthrough medical treatments that eliminate ED and PE. Men are even lasting 90 minutes or longer, regardless of age or medical history.
But that's not all. For a limited time only, call Prime Men's Medical Center now, and your initial consultation and first treatment are completely free. You'll see instant results right in the office. You'll even get a gift that enhances your performance in the bedroom. All this, worth hundreds of dollars, is free if you call now. 904-664-8217. 904-664-8217. That's 904-664-8217.
Want to drive a real, authentic tank? For your chance to win a once-in-a-lifetime tank driving experience package for you and 3 friends from TankAmerica.com, text the word TANK to the 1010XL text line at 641-1010.
Saturday, June 24th, the UFC returns to Jacksonville. The heavy-handed Josh Emmett looks to turn back undefeated phenom Ilia Topuria, plus dangerous Brazilian Amanda Ribas takes on the future Macy Barber. Don't miss UFC Fight Night, Emmett versus Topuria, live from VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com.
Working in the trades industry, going nowhere, sick of dealing with grueling residential install projects and demanding seasonal schedules? Become part of something better. All Weather Contractors wants you to join our multifamily and commercial construction property maintenance team now. Based in Jacksonville, we offer premium pay, bonuses, full benefits, 401k programs, employee stock ownership opportunities, and a culture focused on career advancements and opportunities. Build a better career in the commercial property maintenance industry. Apply online today at allweathercontractors.com.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On June 6, 2015, in the Women's French Open, Serena Williams wins her 3rd French title and 20th Grand Slam singles event.
This is Hayes Carline for QC Kinetics. Remember when you were going to get that pain fixed this year? Well, the year is almost halfway over. If you're still dealing with that pain, enough is enough. Pills are not the answer. Surgery is not the answer. You need to call QC Kinetics today at 904-274-5522. Set up a free consultation in Mandarin or Ponte Vedra. The advanced regenerative medicine solutions at QC Kinetics can give you a life without chronic joint pain. You can do all those summer activities you love. How do they do it? By taking healing properties from your own body and applying them right into your achy joint. Your tissue can be repaired and restored naturally. You can have life-changing results without drugs, surgery, or downtime. If you have pain in your knees, back,
shoulders, hips. Enough is enough. Call QC Kinetics now, 904-274-5522. That's 274-5522.
Hacker here for the Sausage Dudes Sausage. You know I'm a sausage guy, and the Sausage Dudes, Paul and Patrick, make the best sausage I've ever tasted. Their high-quality pork and spices separate the Sausage Dudes from the pack. Try their 4 flavors, including Italian, Polish, Hungarian, and beer bratwurst today by picking them up at any Publix in the Jacksonville area. A portion of their proceeds also get donated to the Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Florida. Try the Sausage Dudes Sausage today, the sausage partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
E.T. here, and y'all know how much I like my brown water, but I ain't gonna lie, it gives me headaches sometimes. So my alternative is Brackish Vodka. This gluten-free alternative to Tito's is 100% local, and all monies stays right here in Duval. Not only does Brackish Vodka make you feel good, but when you support Brackish Vodka, you're also helping local charities. Try it side by side with your favorite vodka, and you will taste and smell how natural Brackish Vodka really is. And when you do, remember who sent you. Come on, somebody.
Malfunctions in your electrical panel can lead to hazards like fire or power outages, leaving your home at risk. So leave it to the pros and Mr. Sparky.
888-8 Your on-time electrician, Mr. Sparky of the First Coast.
Hey, it's Joe C, and we want to see who can challenge me and the XL Primetime Gang for the Sonny's Barbecue Rib Eating Contest, live right here at the 1010XL Studios. Text the word RIB to 641-1010 for your chance to enter in Rib Mania for America as we gear up for America's birthday. Contest will be live on air June 27th, and you can be part of all the action. Thanks to Sonny's Barbecue for providing the ribs. We just need you to see if you can beat us. Text RIB to 641-1010 for your chance to enter.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars, protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555, Jacksonville. This is Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. We've already been to the AFC East, the NFC East, and this week, it's all about the AFC North. The Jaguars will play every team in the AFC North this year, one of the best divisions in all the National Football League. We will make trips to Baltimore, to Pittsburgh, to Cleveland, but tonight we kick it off in Cincinnati with the defending division champions. With that, Jay Morrison of The Athletic. He is our guy up in Cincinnati when it comes to the Bengals, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Jay, how you doing?
I'm great, Ryan. It's a slow time of year, so happy to talk some football right now.
Yeah, OTA's down here wrapping up for the Jaguars. They have veteran minicamp next week, and then the last little R&R, I guess, before the training camp begins in July. What is Cincinnati's status right now? Have they wrapped up their offseason work?
No, same situation. Next week is the mandatory minicamp. This week actually is their first week of OTAs. They are doing kind of the same thing they did last year. Last year it was under the, I don't know if you say the excuse or the reasoning that they were coming off the longest season in NFL history and they went the distance. And Zach Taylor, the head coach, really gave them some downtime and they took things easy, and it went really well for them last year. Yeah, they didn't start as fast as they would have liked, but they were strong at the end of the year, winning 10 in a row. So it's been like Cincinnati Country Club up to this point. They have shirts and T-shirts on. They are not doing any kind of really real football activity. And even this week, when they actually do OTAs and put on helmets and are allowed to do 11 on 11, 7 on a 7, I don't think we're going to see that. They didn't do any of it last year during their OTA week, and then they actually gave the team the third day off of that 1 week when they did OTAs. So yeah, they are only doing 6 practices, actual real practices, and 3 of those are they're doing 6. They're doing 3 mandatory minicamp next week, 3 this week, and then they had the kind of the rookie minicamp was the same deal where they showed up for like an hour and did calisthenics. So really light off season for the team.
Well, if it worked last year, there's certainly no reason to get away from it. The Bengals have been very good the last couple of years. All right, Jay, here in Jacksonville, I like to think the Jaguars are kind of a year behind Cincinnati. It wasn't that long ago that Cincinnati was picking number 1 in the draft. You don't really think about that because of how good they've been the last couple of years. We're hoping to experience some of that same success here in Jacksonville. But what is it like covering the team from 3 years ago being the worst team in football to now being a Super Bowl favorite, quite frankly, and a lot of people picking Cincinnati to go to the Super Bowl yet again?
Yeah, it's a total difference. Even from, I started covering the team in 2012 on a daily basis, and even back then when they were going to 5 straight playoff berths, they were still kind of an afterthought where, they never won a playoff game, and they hadn't won one since 1990, and it was like, yeah, it's a cute little plucky team, but not a real player. And then that one year they were really good in 2015. They had that epic meltdown in the wild card game against Pittsburgh, and everything fell apart after that. Zach came in and they go they lose his first 11 games as head coach. They go 2-14 that year, get the number 1 overall pick. And it's like Joe Burrow has just totally not just transformed the team, but the entire organization. Almost you can almost say the city landscape. I mean, they've got naming rights on the stadium now. They've tried for years to get an indoor facility, or they've resisted for years. The players have tried for years to get an indoor facility. They have that now. It's just there is so much outside interest in the Bengals, and it's really amazing what they've done. The engagement they have on social media. They have a huge following even outside of Cincinnati now. I think they're kind of viewed as a cool team. Joe Burrow has done that. A lot of people in parts of the country that maybe don't have a team to root for have kind of latched onto the Bengals. So there's a huge amount of interest, and there's a lot of people in Cincinnati that swore off this franchise that have come back now and are all in, and season tickets are basically sold out. It's really been an amazing transformation.
Jay Morrison of The Athletic covering the Cincinnati Bengals. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Jay, I want to spend a lot of time on Burrow. Before we get there, you mentioned Zach Taylor. I'm not sure if he gets near the credit that he's probably deserving. I think he's done a fantastic job. His little brother, Press Taylor, is the offensive coordinator here in Jacksonville. So there's a nice little storyline when Cincinnati comes into Jacksonville in December. But what about Zach Taylor? What makes him, Jay, the coach that he is?
Yeah, just kind of what I said earlier with the light off-season work. The players love that. He has been a player's coach. He didn't come in like a drill sergeant. It was a bit of a culture change going from Marvin Lewis to him, and it actually kind of worked in reverse, where Marvin was really kind of lenient on the older veterans and work the young guys, and Zach came in and he wanted practices to be spirited and the hardest work they had all week, and there was some resistance from some of the older guys, and he had to turn over that locker room, and it was interesting that the guys that stayed, the respect they showed, and then you start drafting quality guys and they come in and buy in right away. And he's done things a different way, and he listens to the players and he values everyone's opinions. And if he makes a mistake in a game, he doesn't sit up at the podium and chastise reporters for asking about it. He'll admit it. He'd be like, yeah, that probably wasn't the right thing to do. He's in that Sean McVay mold and he came from Sean's system where everybody is as important as everybody else, and he knows everyone's names, and he's approachable, and he treats everybody the same. And winning solves everything, but the culture he has built here is at the center of what they've been able to create.
I watch those videos whenever they win those big playoff games, and he'll go to the local sports bars in Cincinnati, like right after they get off the plane, and deliver the game ball to these sports bars. And you want to talk about building fans in a very, very quick way. When the head coach of your NFL team does stuff like that, the fans really rally around that. So that's very cool to see from an outside point of view. Obviously, Joe Burrow, you mentioned him, gets all the press up there, Jay, with good reason. Certainly among the top 5 quarterbacks in the National Football League. It wasn't that long ago that his knee was destroyed, right, in Washington his rookie year. But, boy, 2 years later, and the guy is just absolutely on fire right now.
Yeah, it was amazing. That was November of 2020 when he suffered the ACL, MCL, and PCL tears, and he was back at it in minicamp, in OTAs that following May. And it was, kind of he had the respect anyhow when he walked in, but the way that he rehabbed and got back on the field for what some people view as meaningless or not as important work, he really won over the locker room with that. And it's interesting what you said about the game balls, because even with that success that first year, a lot of people thought it was in spite of Zach Taylor, that this was all Joe Burrow driven. And when Zach started doing that, he really, you're right, he really won over the franchise. But it's what, and going back to what I said too, where Zach listens to everybody. They listen to Joe Burrow. They're not saying, here's the offense we want you to run. The Bengals almost do no play action, which is really weird for a successful team. But Joe doesn't like turning his back to the defense, and he reads and processes so quickly. They're like, well, if he's not comfortable doing it and he's good doing these other things, let's just rework the offense and take the play action out. And same thing, a couple years, Zach's first year, and then again last year, they ripped up the running game midway through the year. They saw that the zone wasn't working, the zone read, and more of this is more last year specifically, and it was the downhill gap scheme that was working, and they just totally went away from that. Joe doesn't like to be under center, and so they that's why they did that. They went to more of the shotgun, the gun run situation where he just does a quick handoff and they just hit the gap. And Joe has a big sense of input on this offense, and Zach is willing to listen to him and see what works best. And same with offensive coordinator Brian Callahan.
Couple of more for Jay Morrison of The Athletic covering the Cincinnati Bengals. Jay, where are we with the Joe Burrow contract extension? Certainly here in Jacksonville, we're keeping a close eye on Cincinnati and L.A. to see what Burrow and Herbert get, because that's probably what Lawrence is going to want, if not more, starting next year. So what is the contract situation and the talks going on up there?
Yeah, I mean, they're going on. It almost feels like a staring contest between Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. And, they know whoever goes first, the other one is probably going to top them. I don't know how important it actually is to Joe to be the highest paid player in the game, even if it is only for an offseason. He's talked about he wants to do what's best for him and the team. And you don't hear guys say that a lot, but he really is adamant. T. Higgins is also up for an extension, and so is Logan Wilson. Those are picks 1, 2, and 3 in that 2020 draft. And he it's not necessarily a hometown discount, but I think he knows that they can structure a deal. And I think that's where the holdup is a little bit, where they're trying to figure out the best way to go with the other numbers in terms of not just how much you're making per year, but total compensation, cash over cap, length of the deal, all those kind of things, where it's going to make it possible to maybe re-sign T. Higgins and keep this offensive group together. Typically, we see the Bengals iron these extensions out right before camp or after the start of camp. So I don't expect it to get done before minicamp, and I would really not expect it to happen during that dead period from mid-June to the end of July. But get toward the end of July and then the end of August, I think that's when you're going to see it come down.
Jay, when you look at free agency up there in totality, Jesse Bates, Von Bell, the two starting safeties out, you bring in Orlando Brown Jr. to be your left tackle. Apparently Jonah Williams was not happy about that, and there were some reports that Jacksonville made a call to Cincinnati, although things did not work out. Now Jonah apparently is going to settle in at, I guess, right tackle up there with the Bengals. But when you look at all the offseason moves, the additions, the subtractions, how would you summarize how the Bengals fared?
Well, but surprising. That was never in the plan to go get Orlando Brown Jr. They wanted to re-sign Samaje Perine, and he decided to leave, the backup running back, and he decided to leave for Denver the same amount. They thought they were going to get Von Bell back, and he elected to go down to Carolina. They knew Jesse Bates was gone, but all these guys that they had targeted to re-sign went elsewhere, and then they're sitting there with all this money that they had intended to spend on those guys, and the call comes in, and I think that's what Jonah was upset about, that they never even broached the idea with him of moving to right tackle before they signed Orlando Brown. But from everything that we've heard from people inside the building, that came about in a matter of hours. It was just all of a sudden on Tuesday night they get a call that, hey, would you be interested, or Monday night, would you be interested in Orlando Brown Jr.? And they're like, yeah. And then the next day they've got it worked out. And it just came so fast and so unexpected, but it is a big deal. You look at what cost them the Super Bowl 2 years ago was offensive line play. What cost them in the AFC Championship game last year was Chris Jones wrecking the game plan, again, due to offensive line play. So getting Orlando Brown is one big piece. Stealing it from the Chiefs makes it an even better move for Bengals and Bengals fans. So it was a surprising offseason, but it was a successful one. They know now with this Burrow contract and T. Higgins and all these big contracts coming, they're going to have to start building through the draft. This was really their last big foray into free agency, and they feel like they've hit a home run with Orlando Brown.
Jay, as we begin to wrap up, again, Jay Morrison of The Athletic covering the Bengals. Obviously, the expectations are through the roof in Cincinnati. What is the thought up there, fan base, media, etc.? I mean, is it AFC Championship game or bust? I mean, is that the expectation coming into 2023?
I mean, it's almost Super Bowl or bust, and Super Bowl championship. It's like everyone knows these windows don't fly open forever. And even though Joe Burrow said that the winning window is his entire career, it's hard to do. And they've gotten so close. And you almost wonder if they get to the mountaintop again and can't get over the top of it, how long can that go on? It feels like that this is the year. This city has been waiting for it forever. You know, the Reds haven't won a World Series since 1990, and the Bengals have never won a Super Bowl. This city is starved for a champion, and getting teased the last couple of years. There's optimism, but there's always kind of been that sense with the Bengals of when's the other shoe going to drop? You know, they make you excited and you get confident, and then all of a sudden something goes wrong, and it's a long off season. It's hard to put those kind of expectations on a team, but you see what Joe Burrow has done and how this offense continues to grow around him. And now you've got your biggest weakness addressed in that offensive line. And it does. It's nationally too. It's not just in Cincinnati. They are one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl this year. And I think there's good reason for that. And there's optimism in Cincinnati, but it's always cautious optimism.
Jay, there's a lot of people from the state of Ohio here in Jacksonville. In fact, my mother was born in Cincinnati, so I've always taken particular interest in the Bengals a little bit. Give yourself a little love. Not only can they catch your work at The Athletic, but you also do a podcast there, right?
Yeah, we do a podcast. Hear That Podcast Growling. All things Bengals. We got some fun things coming up this off season. We do some 2-on-2s. Last year we had Zach Taylor and the offense coordinator Brian Callahan joined my co-host Paul Daner Jr. and I for a podcast, that 2-on-2 series. So you can find that if you're really interested in the Bengals. It's on Apple, it's on Spotify, it's on theathletic.com, and then of course, even though it's a slow time of year, we're still grinding out content on the Athletic website and the Athletic app.
Jay Morrison of The Athletic. Of course, the Cincinnati Bengals come to Jacksonville for Monday Night Football in December. It's like the first Monday night game in Jacksonville in over 12 years. So that'll be some atmosphere here in the first week there of December. Jay, we'll talk to you at that point, my friend. Best of luck to the Bengals, and we'll do it again soon.
All right, thanks for having me on, Ryan.
Good friends, great sports talk, and summer on the First Coast. 1010XL.
If you've dreamt about a career in radio but don't know where to start, we've got great news for you. 1010XL has partnered with the Broadcasters and Sportscasters Mentoring Group to offer mentorship opportunities with one of our radio pros right here at 1010XL. Visit getintobroadcasting.com to grab your free report and learn about the training and tuition costs. Go to getintobroadcasting.com to grab your free report now.
Hey Jacksonville, this is Crystal, COO with Remedy Staffing. As employers, labor trends continue to keep us guessing. Is the job market strong? And what is worker availability going to look like? Well, February's BLS job report indicated that we have a hot job market and that Jacksonville's unemployment rate is 2.5%, 1% lower than our national average. So if you're interested in workforce solutions and how our team can help you, please call or text me at 904-329-9802.
The flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars, WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Meet Joe A, Joe B, and Joe C.
What's up?
3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect. Support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, Make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
If you're often tired, have trouble exercising, or your heartbeat feels irregular, you might have atrial fibrillation, or AFib. Left untreated, AFib can put a strain on your heart and increase your risk of a stroke. But the new Heart Rhythm Center at Baptist Health can help. With the latest treatment options for heart disorders like AFib, our team of specialists can get you feeling stronger again. Learn more at baptistjacks.com/AFib or call 904-202-2342.
This is Keith Catlin for Catlin Truck Accessories, and we are so blessed to be in business for over 100 years. Over 100 years of the best product and customer service means you can count on Catlin. From Roll and Lock bed covers to Lear toppers to Cam Locker toolboxes, Catlin Truck Accessories has you covered when it comes to your truck or van. We do those too. Got a fleet of vehicles? We can outfit them all.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
One name, one location, 100 years, you can count on Catlin.
Life is about choices and the decisions you make. I'm David Robbins with Epstein & Robbins. If you're convicted of a DUI, you'll have to face severe consequences. Walking through the doors of the courthouse or appearing at a bond hearing can be extremely intimidating. Without the right lawyer, you're likely to make the wrong decision. Let our team help you make the right decisions in court. Epstein & Robbins, the right choice.
Epstein & Robbins, fighting for your rights since 1975.
The best golfing weather is upon us, and Hidden Hills Golf Club invites you to enjoy your round of golf with us. Our warm and welcoming atmosphere and spectacular golf course keeps our customers coming back. Check us out at hiddenhillsgc.com. You'll be glad you did.
Father's Day is coming up, and what better way to show your dad you care than with a gift from Woodcraft? Whether he's a die-hard football fan or a golf enthusiast, we have the tools and supplies to help him create something he'll love. From personalized signs to custom golf club holders, the possibilities are endless. Plus, our experts are always here to help you with any project. So don't drop the ball this Father's Day. Head over to Woodcraft today. Woodcraft, the home of champion dads.
Come to Bowden Eye for all your eye care needs. Hicken here. Did you know that dry eye disease affects up to 60 million Americans? Dry eye disease is known to progress. Dry eye disease is one of the most common but least diagnosed eye conditions doctors see in their patients. Many of us who have dry eye may not even feel it. At Bowden Eye and Associates, visit today for your personal consultation. Keeping the First Coast focused. Bowden Eye and Associates. New location now open off County Road 210 in St. Johns County.
Does your home or building need painting? For over 20 years, Performance Painting has had the privilege of preserving many of Jacksonville's most prominent buildings. That said, we feel like we're just getting started. I'm Jason Parker, and our team thrives on preparing, protecting, and preserving the homes, businesses, and public buildings that make up our local landscape. Contact us today to put our years of experience to work for you. Performance Painting, prepare, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting.
Buying or selling surfboards, guitars, amps, or musical instruments or equipment? Beaches Jewelry and Pawn wants to either buy them from you or sell you what you need. Beaches Jewelry and Pawn in Jacks Beach. Online at beachesjewelryandpawn.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Past the halfway point here on a Tuesday night. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We're with you till midnight here on Hacker After Dark. Coming up next, Brenton Beard. You see him on First Coast News. You get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. We'll talk Florida, Florida State, a little Miami. And how about this story at LSU? Denmark, you see LSU has air-conditioned football helmets.
Yes, I saw this last week.
Absolutely incredible. Air-conditioned football helmets. The company that invented that is going to make $1 billion. The technology is amazing, and there's a lot of people, actually, that are picking LSU to maybe win the national championship this upcoming year. So we'll talk about all that with Brent Beard. At the bottom of the 11 o'clock hour, Gary Davenport of Bleacher Report. Do a little NFL talk, and Gary... he's one of those fantasy shark guys, man. He does a lot of fantasy stuff. I'm going to throw a couple Jaguar fantasy football-related questions at him. It's never too early to think about that. Drafts will begin starting up here in about a month and a half. Hey, Tuesday night on Hacker After Dark. Rolls on. Gary Davenport in 30 minutes. First things first, Brent Beard. Next, here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
The Franchi Show.
What do you guys have that none of the other teams have?
Frank Franchi, Hayes Carline, and Lauren Brooks.
This is my show.
Not right now, it is. Weekday afternoons.
Oh, the three of you are like my fantasy football team.
On 1010XL.
Attention car buyers, are you noticing markups on vehicles on dealer lots? Well, come to Key Buick GMC, where we never have markups on our vehicles. Ask for Derek or Brian, where we have fair value pricing, no additional markups, as well as the only Buick GMC dealer with a lifetime powertrain warranty on all new Buicks and GMCs. That's only at Key Buick GMC. We are professional grade across from Tinseltown on the corner of South Side and Gate, or go to our website, keybuickgmc.com.
Men suffering from ED or PE, you'll see instant results on your first visit at Prime Men's Medical Center. For a limited time, your initial consultation and first treatment are totally free. You'll even get a gift that enhances performance in the bedroom. Call 904-664-8217.
Fancy like the country music sensation is coming to Jacksonville. Yeah, we fancy like Applebee's. Walker Hayes, Duck Buck Tour, Friday, June 9th, Daly's Place. With special guests Ingrid Andress and Ray Fulcher. On sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Walker Hayes Live.
Jumbo Shrimp Baseball, presented by FIS, is home this week at 1-to-1 Financial Ballpark. Tonight is Community First 2 for Tuesday. Tomorrow is a noon day game on VyStar Good is Everywhere Wednesday, and the weekend starts with Coors Light Thirsty Thursday. Enjoy fireworks Friday and Saturday. Baseball all week and weekend. Tickets start at just $5. Call 358-2846 or jackshrimp.com for tickets.
Talk about your team from your team's perspective. It's
the secret of genius.
Mike Tony and E.T. host Daily Jags Insiders from the JOY Studios.
Yeah, well, I believe you've got everybody's attention.
10 to noon weekdays on 1010XL.
QC Kinetics provided amazing pain relief for a former professional baseball player, and you have access to the same life-changing treatments as retired Braves pitcher Jose Alvarez.
I put a lot of stress and strain and work on my right arm, but my right elbow took most of the damage with 3 surgeries.
Arthritis developed and the pain was unbearable.
It wasn't just pain when I was trying to play sports. It was anytime I was moving the right elbow. It was pretty excruciating at times.
That's when Jose discovered QC Kinetics and the regenerative treatments that help the body heal itself, restoring damaged tissue and providing relief with no surgery or downtime. Jose's message to the medical professionals at QC Kinetics?
My elbow is feeling outstanding. Where were you 10 years ago, for crying out loud?
QC Kinetics is right here. Call for your complimentary consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 904-274-5522. That's 904-274-5522. QC Kinetics, 904-274-5522.
Did you know that all graduates of Local 234's apprenticeship program are licensed journeymen? That means all plumbers, pipe fitters, welders, and HVAC techs will have hundreds of hours of experience and have passed the Jacksonville City Licensed Journeyman exam. They're the best trained and safest skilled tradespeople in the industry. Don't leave yourself exposed to inadequate workmanship or even danger. Always hire a licensed journeyman. Local 234. Make the right connection. Equal opportunity employer.
June is the start of hurricane season. Now is the perfect time to make sure your home is protected from those storms by scheduling a complimentary roof inspection with Universal Roof and Contracting. And right now, get 15% off your roofing project, plus flexible financing. This offer expires June 30th and restrictions apply. Universal Roof and Contracting, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. License number CCC 1330747, CVC 1258484.
UniversalRoof.com. There's a world of difference between and that's why you can trust Famous Automotive and Tire when it comes to your vehicle's care. Because there's a difference between and. It all starts with the triangle of safety. Your tires, brakes, and the front end. Take care of those 3 points and your car will take good care of you. Start at Famous Automotive and Tires. 7 locations servicing every customer like they're famous.
This is Hayes Carline for Kingfish Pest Control. Look, warmer weather now means mosquito, flea, and tick season is here. These pests are out for blood, but you don't have to let them win. Protect your home and family with Kingfish Pest Control. As a Kingfish customer myself, I know their products are safe for kids and pets. Plus, with a 100% satisfaction guarantee, you can relax knowing your yard is pest-free. Call today, mention the Jags to receive 10% off your initial service. That's Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Your quick and easy solution for paying the lowest price on car insurance is Estrella Insurance. E to the T here and start saving the big bucks and pay less today. Call 1-800-CAR-INSURANCE and see for yourself. That's 1-800-CAR-INSURANCE or visit EstrellaInsurance.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us as we enter the middle part of June. We are about 6 weeks away from fall camps getting underway, and we are just over 2 months away from the first Saturday, believe it or not, of the college football regular season. With that, let me welcome in my friend Brent Beard. You see him locally, as I actually did this past weekend there on First Coast News. You also hear him every week right here on Hacker After Dark. Mr. Beard, how are you, my friend?
Well, I'm doing well. We are heading to an interesting time. I mean, most of it's recruiting right now after the meetings, but we are a little over a month away from media days for all the conferences, too. That is around the corner, and frankly, and before we turn around, high school and college teams are going to be practicing again. So once you hit June, it goes by very quickly, but there's still, if folks hadn't got them, Athlon and Lindy's are on the stand, so that may help a few people get through the summer.
You know, Brent, you and I talked at the end of last week after the SEC made their decision about sticking with 8 conference games and those ramifications. A quick follow-up to that. It's been the weekend now. You've had 3 or 4 days to talk to people around the conference. What has been the reaction of folks that cover the SEC about it being basically status quo with the number of games being 8, at least for right now?
I think people are surprised that it didn't go to 9. They are trying to figure out what went wrong. I think what went, if you want to call it wrong, it depends on if you want to go to 8 or go to 9. But I think what happened is they thought they would have money from ESPN that they don't have yet for a 9th game. They just re-upped not long ago as a conference, so ESPN is slow because they've got other things they've got to deal with, and there's so many slices of the pie. And the other thing is OU and Texas, and I understand this, did not have a vote. If they had had a vote, it may have been enough to swing it over to 9. So at this point, we're staying with the 24 season. And I will say this, one thing that does, it preserves in 2024, Alabama and Wisconsin, Georgia, Clemson, and Atlanta, Florida and Miami, Notre Dame at Texas A&M, and LSU and Southern Cal in Las Vegas. The non-conference games next year for the league are you're going from first gear to fourth gear in terms of interest, so that helps. I think another thing that happened, and I give our colleague Matt Hayes credit for this, as he wrote about this in Saturday Down South, and he has a valid point. The other sticking point here was, who are the 3 permanent opponents going to be? If you stay with 8, you've got 1 permanent, 7 rotating. If you go to 9, you've got 3 permanent and 6 rotating. So that played a part in what happened too. They'll reevaluate this in a few months. I do think, heck, they eventually go to 9. it just makes too much sense. It's too logical. It's too much money. But as the league will often do, it was hesitant before making the decision that a lot of people thought they should have made.
Brent Beard, you see him on First Coast News. You get him right here on Hacker After Dark. So it's just for 2024. They'll reevaluate it. And the next time there's a vote held, Texas and Oklahoma will be a part of that vote. So we'll see what happens ultimately if/when at this point they do go to a 9-game conference schedule. All right, Brent, we're in the month of June. We're 6 weeks away from fall camp opening. As you said, a little over a month away from media days. I wanted to kind of do a status check on the 4 major schools in our area: Florida, Georgia, Florida State, and Miami. And I'm going to call an audible here because you and I talked off air and you piqued my interest a little bit. I actually want to begin with the Dogs, but it has an LSU tie to it. First and foremost, LSU unveiled last week air-conditioned football helmets. Now, Brent, I'm never going to be confused for the smartest guy in the room, right? But that's brilliant. And if I don't know how they're doing it, but if that works, the company or the individual or whoever did that, you said it best, is going to be a trillionaire.
Well, there's a company in Louisiana called Tiger Air, appropriate name for being down there, that has come up with a helmet that LSU is going to wear in all practices and games this year, and that means games. Now, we don't know all the technology for why this works and how it works. It will be explained at some point. I mean, it is a brilliant idea. There was a video of the LSU players trying it on, and I don't know if it's just basically something that is able to express air onto your head. I'm sure when you were playing high school football, don't you think you could use that in a few days when y'all were practicing? So, but you've got to believe that if this really works, this company will, and there'll be a few knockoffs, I'm sure, but will make a lot of money from it. And look, I mean, the reality of this is, it also makes you wonder as far as heat strokes is concerned, things of that nature. If we'd have had this 10 to 15 years ago, I mean, how many lives would that have saved? And maybe how many trips to the hospital would something like that have saved?
Yeah, hard to believe the technology that we have today's day and age, that air-conditioned football helmets appear to be the new thing. We'll see, but LSU, at least the first team that is going to give it a try. Speaking of LSU, Brent, there's a lot of love around LSU, and I bring it back to Georgia. You know, the thought is that Georgia clearly is going to be one of the favorites for the national championship. I mean, you look at that schedule, it's a very, well, quite frankly, an easy schedule for the Dogs. Yet there are some high-profile folks that cover the Southeastern Conference that are not picking Alabama to win the national title, not picking Georgia to win the national title. They think Brian Kelly has something there in Baton Rouge this year.
Well, he does, and this is going to be a very good roster. I mean, you saw what Kelly did last year with basically gumming baling wire with LSU and got them to Atlanta. But look, Jayden Daniels coming back, quarterback. That's the reason they're picked over Alabama, because Alabama's quarterback, we don't know who that's going to be, but they've also got really good players like Malik Neighbors at wide receiver. Pretty much the entire offensive line comes back. That's a huge help. And I mentioned Jayden Daniels. They've got Garrett Nussmeier, the backup quarterback, who may be as good as Jayden Daniels, can start for some different teams. But the thing that really makes them good is Mason Smith, the defensive tackle, is back this year after being hurt in the FSU game. We know what Errol Perkins did last year. Obviously, a huge game against FSU to start. But here's the caveat. They will be the darling of the summer because of the players they've got returning. But, heck, their roster's not as good as Georgia's, frankly. and I think that will make the difference in the end. No one's going to beat Georgia in the East, but that is going to be a fascinating battle in the West with Alabama and LSU, and I'll throw A&M in there too with Bobby Petrino. If their defense is better, they could be a real force to be reckoned with too. But no, good point. You will see that more and more, and that will be a trendy pick of LSU winning the West, and maybe even being in Atlanta. But again, I don't think Kelly's got the roster exactly where he wants it yet.
You get Brent Beard on First Coast News. You also hear him here every week on Hacker After Dark. Brent, to Gainesville we go. You and I have talked about this in the past, but it was made more prevalent this week. An unbelievable recruiting weekend by all accounts. They had almost 20 prospects in Gainesville. You see the social media accounts of those prospects, Brent. They had a fantastic time. People are talking about Florida now as their leader, or Florida making a hard push. They did not get a verbal commitment, but they certainly made an impression. And to me, there's a little bit of a disconnect, because you talk to Gator fans and people that cover the league, and they're talking about 2023 on the field is going to be rough for Florida, and I happen to agree with that. Yet, Brent, the 2024 recruiting class that Billy Napier is putting together looks to be really, really, really good. So I guess my question is, what are they selling these recruits? Because by all indications, it may not matter how poor 2023 goes on the field. This 2024 class may be top 5 nationally.
Oh, they're selling them playing time, number one. And then number two, when you sit down and you listen to Billy Napier, he was in Clay County and had a chance to hear him, and how he explained what went wrong last year and where they're going. It's hard not to be impressed and end up being a believer in where they're going. But he knows what he's doing. It's going to take a time to be able to do it on the field. Now, they've really improved themselves. Austin Armstrong is a jewel for them, the new defense coordinator coming from Alabama, who had a cup of coffee there, and from Southern Miss. But he can communicate with these players. He gets it. He gives them a vision to look at, and that's why people are drawn to him. And again, and we're going to say this about 100 times, and that's okay, but he really had a mess to clean up after Dan Mullen and his inability or refusal to recruit players. So he's still having to make up for that. But Florida still, on the other hand, is getting close to the point of where there are no more excuses. They've got the facilities, they've got the staff, they've got the analysts, they've got all the ingredients that you want to be a really good football program, and it's time for that to kick in. Now, the good thing for Florida is the people who make the decisions know what is going on and know how much he's had to overcome. So, and patience, again, is being preached, and it's going to have to be. But that's just the reality of it, Hack, is no, that they may not be very good, again, on the field this year, but help is coming, and they're going to be better, and could be a really good program if people are patient in the next 2 or 3 years.
That's exactly right. You got to show patience. That's a great lead-in to Florida State. They showed patience because 12 months ago, Mike Norvell might have been on the hottest hot seat in college football. Now he's sitting pretty after a 10-win season. And that gets me to the Noles, Brent. A lot of expectations. I saw an article on ESPN.com earlier this week talking about Florida State maybe getting Clemson off of their throne, if you will, atop the Atlantic Coast Conference. Keep in mind, there is a chance Florida State and Clemson could play twice this year because there are no longer divisions in the ACC, very similar to what the SEC is going to start doing in 2024. Florida State, a lot of high expectations, Brent, but we just talked about LSU, how good they're going to be. That's their season opener. Florida State has to go to Clemson. Florida State, I believe, has to go to Pitt. for whatever it's worth, Florida State has to go to the Swamp to end the year. My one pause for Florida State, cause for concern, if you will, is, man alive, a lot of their tough ball games are not in Tallahassee this year.
Yeah, that's a problem. And again, they are in the top 10 in both the magazines, in Athlon and Lindy's. And what you're going to see by game time in Orlando is something akin to Florida State's going to be like number 6 and LSU's going to be like number 7. So, and it will be basically a pick-em game. Now, this is a good roster. Obviously, Jordan Travis coming back was huge. Johnny Wilson's incredible at 6'7". Now, they've got some other receivers who are coming in who are going to be back 6'4". So that's going to be a real help for them. The offensive line that used to be their Achilles heel is better. And their defense, I think, is going to be good with Jared Verse and Fabian Lovett, Akeem Dent. Those are guys coming back. But I will still say their roster is not better than Clemson's. Clemson still has a better roster. Why? Well, because Dabo has done it longer than Mike Norvell has at FSU. Now, Norvell, to his credit, is the transfer king, and he has brought a lot of good players in that will be helping them along the line. But obviously a huge game in September at Clemson. They've got to be careful because they go to Boston College a week before, and they're better than Boston College, but you don't want to get up there and be looking forward to Clemson and something weird happen as it can when you're on the road, is the point you made a few minutes ago. So much better program than it was. They're on the way up. Obviously, they've got to keep it going, but they don't have the players Clemson has because, again, Norvell has not been there long enough to get the train going, but it's on the tracks and it's moving along.
To me, Florida State's going to be one of the poster teams as to why a 12-team playoff will be good. The problem for them this year is if they lose that LSU game, which is certainly a realistic possibility. I mean, there's no doubt they can lose that LSU game. They probably can't lose again because a 2-loss ACC team, even if it's a conference champion ACC team, with 2 losses, I find it's going to be hard to get into a 4-team playoff. So if you don't beat LSU, I don't know, Brent, if Florida State would have any more margin for error the entire year.
The thing that helps them, even if they lose that game, and I certainly hear what you're saying, is the committee will give them credit for going on the road, even though it's basically an FSU home game, and playing a top-tier SEC team. So even with a loss, I don't think that's going to hurt them that bad. But you're right. Does it take away some of the margin of error? Sure it does. No question about that. But to your point, this is a game FSU can lose. There's no doubt about that. I mean, you think about the revenge factor. LSU will be better than they were last year. But there is a lot going into this game, and I'll give you the converse of that is, heck, what kind of warp drive will that give FSU if they were to get in that game and say they were scored a couple of touchdowns on LSU and won by double digits? What would that do to that program at that point?
That's certainly a great point. That's the glass half full look at it. I was looking at it the negative side. The positive side, you're right. If they go to Orlando and they beat LSU by 14, then all of a sudden you're talking about a top 5 team without question in the Florida State Seminoles. Brent, we'll save Miami and we'll save Georgia, more in-depth talk for next week, as this week we obviously spent a lot of time on the Gators and on the Seminoles. Have a terrific week, my friend, and we'll get together again in about 7 days.
Great. Sounds good, Hank. Thanks so much.
Take Jacksonville with you.
There's no place like home.
Listen to 1010XL Away From Home.
Oh, but anyway, Toto, we're home. Home.
Download the 1010XL and XL 92.5 FM apps for free on Apple and Android devices.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
The Tom Coughlin J Fund helps families battling childhood cancer, and there are ways you can help. Go to tcjfund.org.
City Rescue Mission has been providing food, clothing, and love for over 70 years to the homeless in Jacksonville. If someone you know is struggling, learn more about the City Rescue Mission at crmjax.org.
You have healing power. Even writing a letter or volunteering can help heal a veteran. Find out more at healvets.org.
If you know someone with cancer and no insurance, call the U.S. Uninsured Helpline at 800-234-1317.
Hope Haven believes in children and youth with special needs and abilities and has developed programs to help ensure their success. Find out more about their employment services and internship program at hope-haven.org.
If you're involved in a community event and you'd like us to help spread the word, find out how at 1010XL.com.
Drivers and heavy truck mechanics, if you like sports, then you're going to love working at Waste Management.
We have a team atmosphere here where we're looking out for one another. We jump in to help out.
Listen up. WM is now offering a $5,000 new hire bonus to CDL drivers and heavy truck mechanics for jobs at our sites in Jacksonville, Green Cove Springs, Callahan, and St. Augustine.
It's camaraderie. It's everything. I like it.
Steady work, competitive pay, weekly paychecks, opportunities for overtime, paid training, and a generous boot and tool allowance.
Plus, over-the-top benefits like 100% tuition coverage for you and your family, and home every day.
CDL drivers and heavy truck mechanics. Apply online at wm.com/careers. That's wm.com/careers. Search driver and mechanic jobs in Jacksonville, Green Cove Springs, Callahan, and St. Augustine, Florida.
A people first, military friendly, equal opportunity employer.
We are WM.
Do you have a VA loan? In this housing market, homeowners with VA loans have access to a ton of instant cash. Hey, it's Prosser here. Do you need cash to pay off credit cards and other high-interest loans? Does a check for 80 or 90 grand sound about right now? Well, Loan Pronto is helping veterans every day get the money they need with a quick and easy zero-cost cash-out refi with zero closing costs. With a VA loan, it's really cool because you can access up to 100% of your home's value. Use that money to pay off credit cards, home equity lines, car loans, consolidate all your payments into one check per month, and close in 2 weeks. Most homeowners who do this end up cutting their overall monthly payments by $800. Loan Pronto's all-digital process makes it fast and easy. They're doing loans with super low APRs, and they love working with veterans. Call now to see what your options are. Call Loan Pronto at 999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Hi, this is Dave Barker. Multi-unit hair grafting is now available at IHRS and can give you 3 times more hair in one procedure over a traditional hair transplant.
Multi-unit hair grafting gave me more hair in one procedure and within my budget.
You can grow your hair back with this exclusive new procedure. Call for a free evaluation. Call IHRS 904-777-IHRS 777-IHRS 777-4477.
That smells good. What is that? Grilling up lunch with Leon and the Sausage Dudes. Sausage with a purpose.
And that is tasting good.
It's Pro Bowl offensive lineman Leon Searcy or XL Primetime.
Weekdays from noon till 1:30 on 1010XL.
Borland Groover is expanding in St. Johns County. Look for the new Advanced Surgery Center and Medical Facility open in Durbin Crossing in the summer of 2024. Learn more about it at borlandgroover.com.
Hey, it's Joe C., and we want to see who can challenge me and the XL Primetime Gang for the Sonny's Barbecue Rib Eating Contest, live right here at the 1010XL Studios. Text the word RIB to 641-1010 for your chance to enter in Rib Mania for America as we gear up for America's birthday. Contest will be live on air June 27th, and you can be part of all the action. Thanks to Sonny's Barbecue for providing the ribs. We just need you to see if you can beat us. Text RIB to 641-1010 for your chance to enter.
Are your kids ready to play this summer? Come check out the Y. Summer is a time for kids to explore new things and expand the limits of their imagination. At the Y Summer Camp, every day is a new adventure. Kids can learn about STEM, arts and humanities, athletic sports, outdoor games, and more. Registration is now open, but space is limited, and spots are filling up quickly. Learn more and find your adventure at fcymca.org. Search Summer Day Camp.
Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying. They can also signal a major problem or electrical emergency. So leave it to the pros and Mr. Sparky.
888-8
Your on-time electrician, Mr. Sparky of the First Coast.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jaguars into the final week of OTAs. They have a veteran minicamp next week, and that's it till training camp begins towards the end of July. Of course, the NFL preseason, believe it or not, only about 2 months away. With that, let's talk Jaguars, AFC South, and maybe even a little fantasy football with Gary Davenport. You see him on Bleacher Report. He's also a big part of fantasy football with the work he does there for Fantasy Sharks, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Gary, how you doing?
Oh, doing well. Like you said, the more we get through OTAs and the closer we get to training camp, the happier I am, because it means we are that much closer to open the season. And what's that tell you about what kind of season this is going to be? The Detroit Lions are in the season opener.
Yeah, the NFL is loving on them. I was pretty surprised when I saw that, but hey, I get it. Dan Campbell, he's the man when it comes to PR and whatnot, so they'll certainly be using his image a lot leading into opening night. They're going to use a lot of images here in Jacksonville, Gary, you would think, between Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson. We haven't spoken since the offseason transpired. In totality, how would you assess the Jaguars' offseason with free agency, the draft? Do you like some of the things that they did?
Yeah, I think they did pretty well. They filled a few needs, went best player available in a couple other spots. I mean, I think you're looking at a Jacksonville Jaguars team, and these are words that have not been spoken in a while, that are the pretty clear favorites in the AFC South. I mean, you've got loaded with talent on offense. That front seven's looking pretty good on defense. If you can get that secondary to hold together, I mean, not only is that a team that I think can win that division, but I don't know that it's a team that, some of those so-called AFC powerhouses would want to see in the postseason.
Gary Davenport of Bleacher Report here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Gary, Calvin Ridley was the big addition. Now, he came in at the trade deadline last year, hasn't officially played for the Jaguars yet. That'll change here in a couple of months. What does a guy like Calvin Ridley, Gary, do for Trevor Lawrence and, I guess, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, really the entire offense?
Yeah, and that's the great unknown, I think, for the Jacksonville offense in 2023 is which Calvin Ridley are we going to get? If you get that 2020 Calvin Ridley that had I think 1,300 and something odd yards, caught 90 passes, scored, I want to say 9 touchdowns, and frankly outplayed Julio Jones in Atlanta. You're talking about a pretty scary pass catching core at that point with Christian Kirk, who looked great last year with Trevor Lawrence, and Zay Jones, who played, much better than I think most people expected. And then you've got Evan Ingram at tight end and a great pass catching back in Travis Etienne. It's going to be a nightmare for opposing defenses to try because there's not going to be that one guy you can focus on. There's too many weapons. There's too many. You can't double. If you double Kirk, then Ridley will kill you. If you double Ridley, then Kirk or Zay Jones is going to kill you. But, it's been almost 2 years since we've seen Calvin Ridley on a football field. So I kind of expect early in the season we're going to see some rust. But if he can shake that off by, say, October, it was a great addition for the Jaguars because it didn't really cost them anything. It was the perfect low-risk, high-reward type of addition. And a great move by them to once again show commitment to Trevor Lawrence that, hey, we're going to do everything we can to put you in the best position to succeed.
Gary, I'm curious, and again, I don't know what your thoughts were individually on these three guys, but the national perception, and heck, even some of the local perception here 12 months ago, is what are they doing giving Kirk, Zay Jones, and Evan Ingram these deals? Even Ingram got $9 million for 1 year. And I remember the talk being, are the Jaguars nuts? Kirk's never been a number one. He's never been a 1,000-yard guy. Zay Jones is just a guy. And Evan Ingram was a bust in New York. And now here we are 12 months later. Those three guys had the three best single seasons of their careers. In fact, Ingram had the best single season of any Jaguar tight end in franchise history. How did that happen? Is it as simple as, well, they have Trevor Lawrence throwing them the ball? Why did so many people miss on those free agent signings?
Apparently our Jacksonville front office knew something we didn't, I guess. Because I'll confess, when they handed Christian Kirk 18, like Christian Kirk's a decent receiver. That's about $18 million a season. Okay, that's a lot. The Zay Jones contract, I did a double time. Like, you do realize who Zay Jones is, right? And the Ingram one wasn't too bad an overpay, like compared to Zay Jones, but still, like you said, it was a little bit of a head scratcher. But to have all three of those guys pan out, I mean, credit to Doug Peterson and the Jaguars coaching staff. Credit to Trevor Lawrence for quickly developing a rapport with those guys, especially Christian Kirk. I mean, Lawrence and Christian Kirk clicked right off the get. And credit to the front office for seeing talent and production in those guys that, not just the media, but apparently 31 other NFL teams missed out on.
Gary Davenport of Bleacher Report here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Gary, one of the big questions about the Jaguars is the offensive line. Jawan Taylor's gone. Cam Robinson apparently facing a suspension, although we still haven't gotten clarity on how many games, whether it's going to be 2, 4, 6. I can't imagine it being any longer than 6, but we're still waiting to hear. But the bottom line is, on opening day, it appears that Walker Little is going to be the starting left tackle, and first-round rookie Anton Harrison is going to be the starting right tackle. Does it give you any trepidation, any pause on the Jaguars and their chances with that big question mark at the offensive tackle position?
It's the biggest question mark, especially on the offensive side of the ball for the Jaguars, obviously. And Harrison is going to have to grow up in a hurry. But Doug Peterson is such a great offensive coach that I think he will game plan as best he can. I don't think you're going to see a lot of 7-step drops from Trevor Lawrence where he's surveying the field, waiting forever for a play to develop. They're going to get the ball out quick wherever they can. I think the bigger concern might be, will the Jaguars be able to establish the run with that line? Because the last thing you want to see is for the offense to become one-dimensional and Trevor Lawrence to have to drop back and throw the ball 60 times a game, every game, which they brought in Tank Bigsby to try to bolster that run game, and give you kind of a thunder complement to the lightning that is Travis Etienne. I think you have to be concerned about that offensive line, but I don't know that you need to hit the big red panic button, at least not yet. Now, 3 weeks into the season, we may be like, okay, the Jaguars line's in trouble. But right now, let the coaches coach them up a little bit. Let Peterson scheme things a little bit. Hopefully the suspension for Robinson won't be that long, and they'll be able to kind of weather that storm early in the season. I mean, luckily they're in a division where it's not like Houston or Indianapolis or Tennessee is going to peel off a 4-0 September. So even if they are a little slow out of the gate, there's going to be plenty of time to pick up that ground.
What I think is going to be one of the more interesting questions, honestly, Gary, is what happens if Little and Harrison are playing well for the first month, and then Cam Robinson comes back. I mean, I think you got to get Cam on the field, A, with what you're paying him, and B, still your best tackle. But then what do you do with Anton Harrison or Walker Little at that point? It'll be a good problem to have, ultimately, when Cam Robinson does return from whatever suspension he is going to get. You mentioned the AFC South. It appears to be a rebuild, but on the way up in Houston. They have a first-year head coach and a rookie quarterback. Indianapolis, I don't really know because it depends on what you think of Anthony Richardson. And Tennessee, I'm not sure if they know what they're doing. They got a lot of young guys, but they're still paying Ryan Tannehill $1 billion. So outside of Jacksonville, Gary, what is your thought on the other teams in the division?
I don't think you can – the Texans they might be marginally better than what they were last year, but the Houston Texans are still a bad football team. One of the more talent-deficient rosters in the league. C.J. Stroud, it's going to be a bumpy road for the young man for the first couple seasons of his career, most likely. The Colts are kind of a great unknown, like you said. Are we going to see Anthony Richardson out there in week 1, or is it going to be Gardner Minshew? And they have some talent on offense and on defense. But the question at quarterback, I just can't get it out of my head. Will we see a raw kid who didn't even complete 55% of his passes in college? Or are we going to see Gardner Minshew, which fans love because of his attitude and his mustache? But, Minshew is what he is. He's a backup. He's not a quarterback who's going to go out there and lead you to the promised land. He's just not that good. Tennessee, I think it's going to be a rough year in Nashville. I think we'll see Will Levis at some point, if only because I don't see how that team is going to score points. And if Derrick Henry, who is getting up there in age and once again topped that 370 touch mark last year, which fantasy football people know all about the curse of 370. If he has another year where he breaks down physically, that offense is just going to fall apart. I would not be at all surprised if the Titans finished in last place in the AFC South.
Wow. Final moments here with Gary Davenport of Bleacher Report, also Fantasy Sharks. He's with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, Gary, before we get to the fantasy side of things, an AFC question at large. It's a enormous amount of talent, all right, with Mahomes and Burrow and Allen, and Lamar's got his new deal. Aaron Rodgers is now in town, not even to mention Lawrence and Herbert. I mean, it's disgusting the amount of quarterback talent in the American Football Conference. And I'm not going to be so much of a homer as to say Jacksonville is better than Kansas City or Cincinnati, Gary, because I don't believe they are. But what I do believe is their path is easier than those teams. I think a lot of the teams in the North and in the West and maybe in the East as well, they're going to eat each other. There's going to be some attrition there, while Jacksonville, like we said, is clearly the best on paper in the South. So Jacksonville, if they play their cards right and do what they're supposed to do, they might be competing for maybe that 2 seed in the AFC, when that would certainly get you maybe 1 or even 2 playoff games come postseason time.
Oh, it wouldn't be that surprising. If not the 2 seed, the 3 seed would absolutely appear to be doable. And I think the Jaguars have to go into this season with the mentality that just making the playoffs isn't good enough. They have to, the floor for the Jaguars, in my opinion, this year is doing what they did last year and winning a postseason game, preferably with a little less drama than what happened last year against the Chargers. But to be able to, get that victory in the postseason. And like I said, if I'm the Chiefs or the Bengals or the Bills and we're in, the divisional round of the playoffs, I don't know that the Jaguars are a team that I'm going to want to see. But you can say that, like you said, you can say that about so many teams in the AFC. I mean, the AFC is going to be an absolute bloodbath this year. Whereas you look at the NFC and there's 3 teams that you're like, okay, they're good. And 3 more that are and a lot of blah. The AFC is just so stacked with quarterback talent that, I kind of look at the team that wins the NFC as the preseason favorite in the Super Bowl, if only because I think we could see a team like Philadelphia cruise through the playoffs a lot easier. Those 7 teams that make the AFC playoffs, it is going to be Donnybrook to get from there to Vegas.
Yeah, you could argue the top 15 quarterbacks in the league, 10 or 11 of them are in the AFC, and I don't think that's far-fetched at all, quite frankly.
Oh, not at all. And I mean, especially if Deshaun Watson turns back into 2020 Deshaun Watson instead of the very rusty guy we saw last, that's just one more elite quarterback in the conference. It's the gap in talent, especially at the quarterback position between the AFC and the NFC is just staggering. I can't ever remember a gulf this wide.
All right, Gary, you write for Bleacher Report, but people that follow you know that you're big into fantasy football as well. Let me ask you from a Jaguar point of view. We talked about it earlier. There's a lot of mouths to feed, right? I mean, you got Ridley, Kirk, Jones, Ingram, ETN, Jamal Agnew. I mean, there's a lot of guys here, which on the field Sunday afternoons is really going to be beneficial. When it comes from a fantasy football point of view, that's not great because obviously guys are going to be taking catches away from each other. How do you summarize kind of where some of the Jaguar skill position players are coming into fantasy draft season here in the next couple of months?
There's a lot of hand wringing right now about Etienne after Bigsby was drafted. Significant number of touches, which is kind of driving his value down to the point where I'm starting to like him. You know, when people were drafting him as a low-end RB1, I'm a little nervous. If I can get him, say, 16th, 17th at running back, that's a different story. At wide receiver, the guy I'm looking at is Kirk. I think the arrival of Calvin Ridley that a lot of fantasy analysts and fantasy drafters are kind of overestimating the impact Ridley's going to have, especially early in the season. Because like I said, I think there could be some rust, and it could take him a little while to shake that off. And Kirk and Lawrence just clicked last year. Now, will Kirk match last year's numbers? Maybe not. But he's being drafted in most leagues after Ridley, and that just, I don't get that. And then Zay, if you don't want to pay, you know, you don't want to pay that retail. You don't want to pay big for Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews or George Kittle. You can wait a little while and get a guy in Ingram who's going to put up decent numbers for you. And then Zay Jones is that dart throw in the 15th, 16th round that if he pans out, great. And if he doesn't, that's what the waiver wire is for.
Where is Trevor going in a lot of fantasy drafts? What quarterback number is he?
You know, he seems to be going off the board 6th or 7th. In some, usually right around Justin Fields. In some drafts I'm seeing he's going before Justin Fields. In some drafts I'm seeing he's going right after Justin Fields. I would probably put him right behind Fields, if only because of that rushing ability with Fields and the difference that can make. You know, the number of fantasy points that you can rack up if you're a 1,000-yard rushing quarterback. It just boosts your value so high. But I'll probably have several shares of Trevor Lawrence this year because I don't like to – I'm not an elite quarterback guy. I'm not going to draft Patrick Mahomes in the 2nd or 3rd round. I'm usually looking for a quarterback in the 7th or 8th round. And that's when guys like Lawrence are coming off the board.
While I got you here, again, final moments with Gary Davenport. Final question. What does the top 5 overall look like in most fantasy drafts in a PPR league?
Loaded with wide receivers. I still think Christian McCaffrey is my number 1, if only because of the scarcity at running back. Then you got Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp. And when you get to that 5th pick, you know, do you take that 2nd running back in Austin Eckler now that his future appears to be a little more stable in Los Angeles, or do you stay on that wide receiver run with Tyreek Hill? I think this year we're probably going to see more wide receivers drafted in the 1st round than running backs, and I can't ever remember that happening before.
Yeah, normally it was a rite of passage. The first 12 picks, 10 or 11, were running backs. That is not the case anymore with the air raid coming into the National Football League. Gary Davenport, Fantasy Sharks, also Bleacher Report. Really appreciate the insight, Gary. I know you're busy. Thank you for the time. We'll do it again soon.
Oh, my pleasure. Anytime.
Radio professionals.
Facial.
That's just me not being able to speak.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. Hey, buddy, I've only been doing this for 20 years. Achievers dash for...
That's ridiculous.
1010XL.
One more time, I promise.
Here's Linda Beaver.
We know that you have options when it comes to buying or servicing your vehicle. We also know that not all experiences are created equal. We promise when you choose to do business with Beaver, you will always get a genuine smile when you arrive, commitment to what you need to accomplish with your purchase or service, and lifelong relationships with a team that cares. Pair all that with a huge selection of inventory. You can't go wrong with Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine or Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville.
We promise. We're here to wow ya.
Hey, Jay, can you finish that induction range installation tomorrow?
Orders have really amped up at Nate's Electric.
We need to finish installing it first in Maine. Did we hear back from the grocery chain?
It's no shock he needs electricians, like yesterday.
Smart fridge. Everybody wants one of those these days.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Do you want to make a difference in your community? Volunteer with your local fire department. Operational and non-operational positions are available, and training is provided. Anyone can be a volunteer. You just need the heart and drive to make a difference where it's needed most. When your community needs you, will you be there to answer the call? Learn more about volunteering at makemeafirefighter.org. That's makemeafirefighter.org.
This is the flagship station of the Florida Gators. WJXL AM and FM, Jacksonville Beach.
1010XL.
1010XL.
Your home of the Florida Gators.
Children under 5 die from drowning in Florida more than any other state. Together, we can reduce the